Και ήρθε η ώρα να συνδεθούμε με το Γερεβάν, την πρωτεύουσα της Αρμενίας. Θα συναντήσουμε την κυρία Yelizaveta Shirinyan, Director of Education Cafesjian Museum Foundation. Θα αναφερθεί στο θέμα «Πέρα από τα εκθέματα», τα μουσεία ως κόμβοι μάθησης, διαλόγου και αλλαγής. Η κυρία Shirinyan είναι μέλος του Διεθνούς Συμβουλίου Μουσείων, λέκτορας του Ινστιτούτου Accadκαι. Δραστηριοποιείται στο Διεθνές Φεστιβάλ Γυναικείας Τέχνης, στο Αρμενικό Κέντρο Σύγχρονης και Πειραματικής Τέχνης, στο Ινστιτούτο για τη Δημοκρατία και τα Ανθρώπινα Δικαιώματα, στο Κέντρο για την Ανάπτυξη της Κοινωνίας των Πολιτών. Παρακαλώ να την ακούσουμε.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My warmest greetings from Armenia to all the organizers and the participants of this wonderful event. It's my honor to be here, and I want to thank all the organizers for inviting me, and I really appreciate that. It was a very difficult time for me in Armenia, for everybody in Armenia, maybe you know from news, and it would be easier choice for me just to cancel my presentation, my participation, but I decided to do my best to deliver my speech. So let me just share my slides and start with my presentation. It will be a very sharp transition from other topics to art, and we're going to talk about the more wonderful thing in the world about art, about museum education. And here is the topic I'm going to present, my topic of my speech. It's beyond exhibits, museum as hubs of learning, dialogue, and change. And I will talk generally about museum education, but I also will bring the examples from the museum where I work already 12 years. It is called Cafesjian Center for the Arts. Here you can enjoy this perfect view from Yerevan. The museum is in the right heart of Yerevan, the capital of Armenia. It is also known as Cascade. And I will briefly tell you about the museum, and then we will go to other topics as well. The complex was originally conceived by the architect Alexander Tamanyan, but his desire to connect the northern and central part of the city were largely forgotten until 1970s, when another architect, whose name was Jim Torosyan, with his two colleagues, could revive this construction. And unfortunately, because of the earthquake in 1988 and also the collapse of Soviet Union, as you may know, Armenia was part of Soviet Union. It was just left unfinished, abandoned, and only in 2002, American businessman and benefactor Jared Cafesjian decided to initiate the reconstruction of all the building, and it was completely reconstructed and reconstituted to a museum, which is now bearing the name of its principal benefactor, Jared Cafesjian. So Cafesjian Center for the Arts is dedicating to bringing the best of contemporary art to Armenia, and also presenting the best of Armenian culture to the world. Here are some more images, and this is the sculpture of the architect Alexander Tamanyan, who was behind all this story of having this construction. So the main topics, I will try to manage to do it in this 10 minutes, is I will talk about the changing role of the museums, learning beyond classrooms, community engagement, and also inclusivity and accessibility. So as we all know, traditionally, museums were often seen as static repositories of artifacts, artworks, and they were served as just places where valuable objects were stored, preserved, and displayed for the public, just for viewing them. Visitors would typically walk through these museums to galleries, observing the exhibition passive manner. But luckily, nowadays, museums have evolved a lot into dynamic centers of learning. They have shifted from their focus from merely displaying objects to actively engaging and educating their visitors, and why not to entertain them. And Question Center for the Arts is also one of those museums who emphasize the importance of learning through interaction, experience, and we offer not only new exhibitions of contemporary art, but also concerts, lectures, hands-on activities, interactive exhibitions, workshops, educational programs that encourage visitors to actively participate and learn. We are, of course, talking about informal education. As we all know, formal education refers to teaching that happens in schools, institutions, while non-formal education is structured form of learning that take place outside of these institutions, a formal educational system, but it's still organized and goal-oriented. So we're talking about the programs that has special goals. So let's just go deep and find out for whom we work. Who are the target groups that we work with? First of all, these are preschoolers, small children, school children, teenagers, families, elderly community. So you can ask me why I am just telling all this. Maybe you already know this, but for those people who are not, who don't have deeper knowledge about museum education, maybe it will be useful. And later, after my speech, I'm very open to discuss any detail. And if I can also share my experience, and you can just contact me. So I just chose some random photos to show you those target groups we work with. And besides the target groups I've mentioned, you know, that museums today, they embraced technology to enhance their visitors. They use digital displays, this AR, VR, and interactive touch screens. So you can obviously see how museums have changed their role. And we work a lot with school children. This is the biggest target group that we work with, because some of our programs, they are perfectly matching the school curriculum. As you see, here are some school groups. And this is, for example, an old epic poem, a program dedicated to our epic poem, written in 5th century, but during the creative process, we chose very contemporary skills, methods. We, as you can see, we illustrate the epic poem with very contemporary style, with the style of comic book. Teenagers are the most maybe problematic group, which are somehow isolated from the society. But even in this case, we find a solution. In 2017, we formed a group of teenagers called Cafesjian Teen Council. So this way, we can involve, it's a group of leadership group of teenagers whose members are becoming kind of ambassadors, presenting the interests, the problems, and the voice of the youth in our center. So this way, they can also invite our teenagers, and we can solve this problem of lack of teenagers in the museums. Elderly people who need our attention, who need us to be attentive, and we pay so much attention to this aged group. And we organize special programs for them, for elder people. Families, we talk about community engagement, and our focus is on family. We organize special programs for families. Here you can see a contest we made especially for the families. It is very important because in our days, we are very busy with our own work, so our own jobs, and families in our museum just have this experience of working together, creating together in the atmosphere, a creative atmosphere of the museum. We also organize special programs with different community groups. We emphasize the Of course, we emphasize the important role of museum to include also different national minorities, also people with mental disabilities, physical disabilities. And this program that you can see in the photo is especially implemented for the children, for teenagers from Syria. After the Syrian war, some refugees that were living in Armenia were invited to be part of it. And as you see in this photo, there is a result of this 3-month educational program. And look at those happy, shining faces. But, you know, we have many difficulties working with them, starting with language difficulties and also this problem. So after war, it's not easy to speak about art at all. I have chosen this photo especially for Greece. That was a wonderful educational program during the Christmas holidays. We invited different embassies to share with their ornaments, traditional New Year tree ornaments. And as you see, Greece is here showing us the traditional boats, this blue boats that were lately decorating our world New Year tree. We invited 9 different embassies. So this way we are also sharing our experience with different national minorities, with different embassies. Some statistics about the educational programs of our center. So during these 14 years, we have more than 60 educational programs. You can see the numbers. They're really huge. And what is the success? I just want to share the secret of our success. Besides that, our educational programs are free of charge, and that's why you have to register like 5 or even sometimes 6 months before. But I think that success is the united work of our staff, starting from different groups of our staff members. We also test all our educational programs before starting to implement them. So testing these programs, we have absolute success. We find out all difficulties and we solve them before the start of the educational programs. I would love to, I just have to follow the time. Just let me know when I have to finish because I can talk endlessly. So, and I want to emphasize 2 important educational programs. And this way we will see what is the main objective of museum education and art in general, let's say art in general. During the spring of 2020, when we were facing this terrible thing called pandemic, we were all somehow lost and we were inside some kind of a panic because we were scared to lose our community of our art lovers, museum appreciators. And just after 2 weeks, we have managed to start a program about an object that was hated most of all by that time, the mask. And we started to research different types of masks, different like theatrical mask or Italian comédie dell'arte or ancient masks of different nations like Japanese mask. And you can see from the object. And after all, we organized an online educational program. In the first part, we just tell them about this historical important development of this object, the mask. And later we teach them, we just give them simple skills, how to make your own mask with the simple materials, just patterns that everybody can find useful. So it has, from one point you can see it was an educational program when you give a definite knowledge, but when we start this educational program and also after evaluating it, we find that these people don't need that much the knowledge, but the social connections, because the program that lasts 2 hours and at the end they didn't want to interrupt it. They still wanted to continue, which proves that the art can be just a simple means of communication for everybody. And there is one more proof that our program was not only implemented with locals, but also people from regions. And as you see in this image, we also work with schools in the United States. You can see how different multinational educational program it turned out. And we also work with Armenians in diaspora, and for them, this kind of topics like state symbols are more of importance. Maybe I will just finish with this one last slide. This is an educational program called Spirit, Voice, Image, and it was based on an exhibition of Armenian artist Nina Khemchanu, who lives in France. And with this exhibition, I want to share our news, our great news. Cafesjian Center for the Arts will be representing the Armenian Pavilion in Italy, in Venice, next year, in the spring of 2024. So this, as you see, these are 11 spheric ceramic pieces hanging from ceiling, and there are scripts on them. These scripts are sacred chants created by the creator of Armenian alphabet, Mesrop Mashdot, who was our first philosopher, poet, and the first creator of Armenian chant music, sacred music. And during this program, we make researches, we study the history of this creation of this sacred music. And we want our participants to immerse this whole music, because during the program we also listen to this music. We read the text written in ancient Armenian, we try to translate them into modern Armenian, and it turned to be a perfect art therapeutic educational program, especially after 2020, when we have this terrible war and we have losses in all families. So this was just not a simple educational program, but as I said, it was just a session of art therapy. If I still have time, these are the pieces created by the participants. I will just mention that on what topics we usually made educational programs. It can be different, like music, holidays, and traditions. We also cooperate with different other museums. It's just a fast view of our other exhibition educational programs. We also have annual programs like June 1st, International Child Protection Day, or New Year educational programs, and very fast. Also lectures, traditional folk dances, and we also cooperate and we work and do educational programs on scope of International Museum Day and European Heritage Days, as the old museum community do last few years. If you have questions, I would be happy to answer all of them. If not, I think I'm done. And one more view from the Cafesjian Center for the Arts. It's kind of an invitation for all of you who wants to come to Armenia, Yerevan, and let's meet in Yerevan if you can. That's it. Thank you for your attention and for your time.